Hello?
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. I was
Goodness
afraid we were
is
going to have
right.
what happened last time happen again. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Let me just get organized here. So, good. Yay. I
Yay,
feel
so
so much
wonderful to
better.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yes, so now you have such an interesting background and history. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so that we know who you are? I know that you're a coach and a speaker, that you work with intuition to help people kind of zero in on their life path. So tell us a little about yourself.
I'm very happy to. I call myself a transformational coach because my work is really fast and really deep, and it is what I call spirit led or spirit guided, which means that usually the best way I've found of describing it is your soul talks to my soul and tells me what to tell you.
Oh, nice.
So, yes, so that's the experience that we have as we are going through the process together. But I also, I'm a published author. I lead tours all over the world. And what I have learned is that sometimes you have to get to the 65,000-foot view of your life in order to see what the answers are and in order to see the direction that you want to go next. So I was an atheist until I was in my mid 30s, and then I went to Egypt for the first time. And on that trip, um, I call God spirit. So spirit hit me upside the head and told me I had a soul and I would never die. And like I got it on my cells. So in that moment, I was no longer an atheist. And so that led to my leading tours, that led to my writing, that led to eventually my coaching work. And I don't understand about two-thirds of what I do. So, like right now, I'm studying brain science to learn, like, oh, why does this happen when we do this thing? Because it's all being guided as I go. So I'll download like a process or I'll download something that needs to come through for somebody so that they can get to their answers as quickly as possible.
Oh, that's wonderful, though, because seriously, sometimes we just, even though we're not trying to, and even though we're consciously feeling like we're making effort towards removing blocks and barriers for ourselves, sometimes we just like get stuck and we can't really um, internally do what we need to do in order to kind of bypass this little roadblock or whatever that we're dealing with. And so doing the brain science part of it, is that like Joe Dispenza's kind of
Yeah.
work? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
not just Dispenza's work, but I'm right in the middle of breaking the habit of being yourself. And a lot of what I mean, I've been studying his stuff for a while, and what he says makes so much sense to me because I really like the neuroscience piece of it. But I also, it's interesting because he's so spiritual in a not spiritual way. I can't explain it any
Right.
better than that. And for me, I never like to take anything for granted. I've always said I'm not the person that ever has faith. Like show me it works, show me the results, show me. And it turns out that you can actually manifest using those very words and using those very concepts. And so I don't really need to have faith because spirit keeps showing me. And that's how I go through my life and how I help with my clients the most. So, which I think is, I mean, to me, my job in the world is to help people wake up. And right now, I tend to focus on women more as clients. I do have men who are clients, but mostly I work with women. And I want them to be empowered. I want them to have their voices. I want them to know what's possible for women in today's world, having been, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. I was one of five female executives in the entire software industry when I was running my first company back in my 20s. And it's a, I mean, the world has really changed significantly in our adulthood. So I want women who are, our age or older, 10 years younger or whatever, to also know that they have the right to their voice and that it's time to have that voice amplified. And then I want younger women who I think are, that I would, I like, I have a 15-year-old niece, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love what you get to experience in your life these days. So I want to help anybody who's younger also to blossom as quickly as they can.
Right, right. And yeah, like you said, I mean, even in the past 10 years, when you think about how business has shifted and everything is so, kind of fast paced, but in the same way, like you said, there are so many opportunities, especially for women right now, to be able to thrive and prosper, but we also need to kind of hold each other up at this moment because, yeah, I mean, things are shifting, but I do feel like there is still kind of an imbalance in that respect. It's the gap is narrowing, but there is still, and also women do things differently than men. Do you think?
Oh, yes. And one thing that I have learned much more recently than I would have liked is women should do things differently than men. That there's a different dynamic that's created by the concept of the sacred divine feminine. And that was excised from our entire culture, religion, and society thousands of years ago, much to our detriment. So we have the opportunity now to allow and receive and create as women. Like those are the areas of the sacred divine feminine. That's the purview, the creator energy, the receiver energy, the allowing energy. And the masculine, which is the world as we live in it today, the patriarchy that we live in. And when I say patriarchy, that sounds like I'm, like I'm against the patriarchy. I love men. I do. I think that they're awesome. I just don't think they should be running everything with a complete disregard to things like intuition, for example. And then to tell women what they should be doing with their, intuition also. So I think there needs to be a lot more balance. And you said things are better, but there's still this imbalance. It's being, I feel like the pendulum's like all the way over here off screen, and then it's starting to swing back toward, but it'll go hopefully, more this way before it comes back and corrects to center. Because I feel like we need that time. COVID has been, in some regards, a big gift. It has
Oh, yeah.
given a lot of people the time for introspection. It's given the land time to recover from the human race, like destroying it as quickly as we possibly can. And as a result, to breathe. And so I feel like those are kind of feminine aspects as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like conservation and connection with the land. And, I feel like you hit the target on so many different things that I've been, experiencing on my own walks and in my own introspective um, times as well. Just like, conservation, not overusing everything, deciding what's important and what our priorities are so that we're not consistently, draining the earth of all of the resources because we can. Uh-oh, I lost your sound. Yeah, hang on. What happened here? I can't hear you. You can hear me though? Yeah. Okay. Settings. Let's see. Audio. Okay. Speaker. Stereo audio. Okay. Still can't hear you. Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting.
Can you
Let's
hear me now?
I can.
Yay! Oh, goodness. Okay, good. Sorry about that.
No worries. Sometimes, yeah, I'm used to every once in a while, you just have to roll with it.
Thank you so much. So
You're
you were
welcome.
just saying that I just said all these things that you were all excited about. So that's good.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. And I totally understand what you mean about the patriarchy too. It's kind of interesting to get this adult perspective of the patriarchy kind of and see how women, in the roles that we've been given traditionally as the mothers and the nurturers and the caretakers and everything like that, we have all of this unseen labor time, the appointments, the dinners, the shopping, the consistent um, uh, tally of what we need and what we have and everything, and seeing how much more freedom actually men have had traditionally to
All of
pursue.
it. All the
Yeah,
freedom.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really, yeah. And oh god.
Well, I just had a thought because I mean, what you're talking about though, to me, is still like kind of, I mean, I thought that was really all that there was. I thought that that was the big problem. And what I've discovered in my, sacred divine feminine research, I'll just call it, is it's so much more pervasive than that. Women being excised from history,
Yeah,
women being excised from any rights whatsoever. I mean, this is something that I was shocked to find out fairly recently. Like, I'm going to say I found this out like last year that women couldn't have their own bank accounts or their own credit cards until I think the dates were like 1968 and 1971 respectively.
yeah,
Well, that's in my lifetime. I
yeah.
call my mom. I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, but usually you were married after you left your father's house, so you didn't notice unless your husband was a jerk and like didn't let you." I mean, what? It just shocked the heck out of me. And so that's the kind of stuff where, men controlled every aspect of your life. And if you didn't want to be controlled by that circumstance or that situation, you had very few outlets and very few options that were available to you, especially at a time when you could be a school teacher or you could be a nurse, but then you had to choose between that and having a family. And and that's only 50 years after you could be a school teacher, you could be a nurse, or you could be a servant, and that was all that was open to you. And then you definitely weren't going to have a family because there were laws that said that you couldn't, or at least really stringent rules that said that you couldn't. So I mean, we're really like, we're just in a completely different time frame than that, with women CEOs and women entrepreneurs and women having the freedom to say and do and be who and what they choose. But there's this legacy that's like super weighty of that, those stories still being told to us as we were growing up and even still as adults. Also, you said something earlier about women supporting each other. That's become like my big thing. Is I don't like it when women tear each other down at all, because it's so painful for a woman to speak out in the first place and then to have her sisters say she's too fat or too old or too ugly or too outspoken or I mean, whatever. It's like we speak in these stereotypes as we cut down these other women.
Right. Oh yeah, and but when you think about it in terms of how we've been brought up and how the past like 2000 years has been even, and it is so deeply ingrained into us that other women are dangerous because they can take away our resources. And when you think about it in terms of we couldn't own property, we couldn't have our own money, we couldn't speak for ourselves in a lot of ways, then you see kind of where that I don't want to say desire, because I don't think it was a desire, but where that competitive front actually came in and pit women against one another. And when you think about it in terms of like witch hunts and even cultural clashes that we're going through right now and things like that, pitting women against each other is one of the means of control.
And interestingly enough, one of the few ways that women could exert any control over anyone or anything was to be overpowering by her beauty or by her wiles the other women. The stories of, the Greek gods, for example, Hera is the queen of the heavens, but the other goddesses are always in
Mhm.
competition with her for Zeus. And that is very much the patriarchal story. And then you go back to things like, Mary Magdalene going from being made into um, a disciple of Jesus. I mean, there is a gospel of Mary Magdalene. It has been dated back to the Nag Hammadi text. It's not, somebody's like has not just written it recently. These date back to as old as any of the other gospels. And yet Mary Magdalene was made into a penitent whore in the Bible. And the Catholic Church disavowed this in the 60s. And I mean, when did you find out about it? Probably when you saw the Da Vinci Code, like everybody else.
Right.
But it was disavowed, decades earlier. It just, I don't know, wasn't widely advertised, as the Catholic Church does not like to say they were wrong about anything. But that kind of story is so pervasive that it's no wonder that women see themselves, I mean, this whole like, Madonna or whore with the wife maybe somewhere in the middle, like those are your only options, right? And I feel like this has a great effect in the way that women think of themselves in business, run their businesses, and deal with what women call competition in business as well.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm all like psh, high five with that because it's really just, yeah, when we peel back all of these different layers and we see, and then we have to sort that out within ourselves, and we have to somehow, settle into a place where we feel comfortable within ourselves and we know that we have, that we are safe to express ourselves, that we're safe to lead, sometimes and sometimes not, and it's just really, even looking at things today, how in the Western world, yeah, women have a lot more rights than they do. And so lifting our sisters up, and this has been like a topic of thought, because the more rights women get overall, it seems like the more rights everybody gets. Do you
It's a
understand what I mean?
really good observation. I've never heard anybody put it that way before. I love that. May I borrow that in the future?
Of course. Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
Definitely. Because and when you're being oppressed by, a man or a society in your life, and then you realize, you come to this place where you can help yourself out of that oppression, of course you're going to bring your kids or your cousin who's staying with you, or the other people who are involved in that. So it's fascinating to see how this is, kind of having ripple effects. And then we're championing, earth preservation
Oh, yes.
and Yeah.
and
And
teaching our
so,
children, right?
yes,
And that the sons grow up differently when the mothers are able to teach them differently. So yeah, so I love everything you just said. Really, it's just so powerful.
thank you. So yeah, because that's what I'm noticing in my life too. I mean, and you're exactly right. We're teaching our children then how to act, and
Mm-hmm.
our male children, because I have two boys and one girl. My daughter is like she's a STEM person. You know, she graduated with IT, and then she went on to chemistry. And so, you
Mm.
know, and then my boys, I'm teaching them like respect women, like respect other people. And yeah, I'm all like, I can't unpack the whole totality of
No,
it.
I know, but I read a meme the other day that talked about the the fact that we have generically spoken about things like rape. We don't say this many men raped this many women. We say women this many women were raped, or we
Mhm.
don't say, from a business standpoint, we don't say, you know, this many women left their jobs during the pandemic because this many men stayed and the women were the caretakers in those families. We just say this many women left the workforce. So we don't talk about the man's part in the experience. And I think from the standpoint of like wanting to call that spade a spade, we kind of need to. We need to start having these conversations where we say, if we don't like this thing and this thing was perpetrated, perpetuated, whatever by men, then let's talk about the man's part in this,
Mhm.
so that we can heal it. That's what's so important, is getting to that place of healing. Women are nurturers and caretakers because we are the creators by birthright. And that means that the more that we can give ourselves the that place in society where we are allowed to create, where we are allowed to receive, where we are allowed to allow, as opposed to the masculine side, which is the structures and the doing, right? The woman creates and the man executes. This takes us back to the Holy Grail story, sorry, the Grail stories, not the Holy Grail specifically, because that's a whole nother thing, but the Grail legends, with like Arthur and Guinevere and the Knights of the Round Table. The lady sends the knights out on the quest. What is that? That's the masculine and the feminine. The feminine is the creator, and the masculine is the doer. And that's like how it's supposed to be, because and we all have the sacred divine masculine and feminine. We all have that balance inside of us. It's just the masculine is like all down here. And I was going to say I'm ashamed to say, but that's not true, because it's the lessons that teach us, who we become today. So there's no shame in our past. But when I was in my 20s running that software company, in my 30s running my real estate business, I was taking so much pride in, I just act like one of the boys. I'm running this company. I'm getting in there and getting that stuff done. And that is something that I have really come completely 180 degrees on. It doesn't support us the way that it does if I move through the world with my feminine and masculine balanced. And if I create, allow, and receive more inside of a masculine world, I can actually get more accomplished with less effort. And to me, like, my coaching practice is all about, how can you take the quantum leap, right? Do you have to climb the corporate ladder rung by rung by rung, or could you go from here to here? Um, we were talking about brain science earlier, right? Well, quantum physics says that the quark can go from A to D without going through B and C, or it can go from A to J, which you didn't even know was there when you were conducting your experiment. And one of the first spiritual axioms, as above, so below, as within, so without, if a quark can do it, we can do it. Right. So that's why I love the brain science behind it, because it's like, oh, that gives me an example. There's no woo woo stuff in here. It's just, this is the math. And so if it's just math, as my programmers used to say, now I can extrapolate without faith to my life and to the lives of the people that I work with. So if you want to take that quantum leap, if we as a society want to take that quantum leap, that masculine feminine balance is everything, because the masculine is climbing the corporate ladder rung by rung. It's why we have that belief system in the first place that goes along with our business structures today. And the sacred divine feminine says, no, we can go from A to D or A to J. All we have to do is imagine it and allow it and ask how we can get there. And I like to use the phrase, what is my next smallest step? So I ask, what is my next, ask your higher power, whatever that is for you. What is my next smallest step? This is my goal all the way down here. I can't see how to get to that goal. It's even so big, we can't even call it a goal. It's a dream. So I definitely can't see how to get over the wall to get to the end. I can ask, what's my next smallest step? And allow that to unfold.
Nice. And that, I mean, that's how you work with your clients. Then you take them on that little, let's just do baby steps. Let's just put your goal here. Well, let's figure out what your goal is to begin with, because
clarity must be first. Yeah. Yes, totally.
Yeah. And do you feel like, is that how people come to you, like unclear about what their goal is, or unclear about what the path is for them, or kind of a mixture of like, I just know what I want to do, but I just don't know?
Well, it depends on the person. So I definitely get a mix. There are definitely people who come to me, like I run a small sacred group coaching program for women called Goddess Knows. Most of the women that come into that program come in lacking clarity. When I work with private clients, a lot of times the private client comes in and she says, I already know exactly what I want and I have no idea how to get there. And I want your help getting there, because I used to have this as my slogan, but it was a little too, so I took it out. But I used to say, I am the how, because I could work with somebody and they didn't know how, but I am the how for them, because it's literally none of your business how you're going to do it. Your job is to say, I want this, I desire this. And once you've said, I desire this, now the question becomes, how do I get there? And now I will not pursue that dream because I don't know what to do. I don't know even how to take that first step. So asking the question, what is my next smallest step? And then being guided by me or someone like me is, that becomes their how. And over time, taking that series of baby steps combined with quantum leaps, you can get anywhere you want, which is really remarkable. I mean, anywhere you want.
Well, that sounds, yeah, I'm all like, that sounds awesome. Sign me up. Exactly. Because I think people get stuck, number one, on, like, I don't think they have a problem with the vision. I think we're all like, vision board and goals and everything like that. But when you get into that process there, it's just full of pitfalls and trips and, kind of bridges, we'll call them. My new thing is, the bridge is not the path, it's just a bridge.
I love it. Sometimes that's true that people have that clarity, but here's a little hint for your listeners, or your viewers. If you're not getting where you want, if your vision board isn't coming to fruition, if you have that dream but you aren't necessarily like going, there's a resistance, or you're not going in the direction that you desire to go through, that is a hint that you do not have the clarity that you require, or perhaps that you are on the wrong path. So sometimes people will come to me and they'll be like, I want this. And I do business strategy. So I mean that's like part and parcel of the work. So I will help you get there. But a lot of times I'll run into a snag that I can't like, hey, we're not able to get around this. And then we start asking the questions, and it turns out you're doing the thing that you believe that you need to do to make money, for example, or you're doing the thing that you believe that you need to do to support your family in a way that they believe in, or you know the drill, like the person who has the degree and the thing that they didn't want because their parents wanted them to, and now they're in that job and they just don't love it. That I run into fairly regularly. And then it's a matter of, all right, where is your heart guiding you? And can you be brave and choose that? Because it's time to get you on the path of what you came here to this planet to do. So I feel like that clarity piece, you're absolutely right. Most of the time people are like, yeah, I know what I want. I don't know how to get there. But there is this other, there are other people who, even when they're entrepreneurs, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going after this kind of client because I think this is what I should do. Like I talked to a lady yesterday. I coach a lot of groups where like I'm the mindset coach for the big business group. So I talked to a woman for the first time yesterday. She was like, I do website design. Oh, okay, that's fascinating. Who are your clients? Well, my clients are like large medical professionals. And I'm like, I could feel my eyes glazing over as she's talking about just who her client is, because I can feel intuitively, I don't want to work with those people. Now, I was happy to work with her and happy to help her. And she's enjoy working with these high-end medical professionals. And I'm like, yay, I'm so glad that this is the perfect fit for you, because you want to really sit with, who are you in alignment with as far as your clients go? Who are you, you know, like what's the feeling in your gut, the feeling in your heart, the feeling in your mind? Are your eyes rolling up to the top of your head when you start thinking about who the client is that is bringing you the money? Because sometimes that's where that, like, you have clarity on what you want your job to be or your vocation, but you don't have clarity on who you want your perfect client to be. And you're going after where you like think the money is, and that's not where your alignment is.
That is a really good point to make too, because I feel like a lot of people cast a super wide net. They just want to work with anybody. And it's just like, just anybody, especially like when you're doing readings and healing and stuff like that. I don't want to work with skeptics. I don't want to work with somebody who's going to tell me I'm going to hell. And, like those aren't my people. So,
Well, what you just said is like vitally, vitally important, and I have to share this with lots of people, because the wider the net you cast, the more generally you speak. The internet attention span is 3.8 seconds right now. Have time. I coach a group of realtors, and I'm always saying to them, by the time you get finished saying, "Hi, I'm Sue, and if you're looking to buy or sell your home," that's your 3.8 seconds. They're out of there already. So
yeah.
you've got to start speaking very specifically to your audience. And more importantly, and this is where the spiritual piece of this comes in, you want to talk in an emotionally evocative way that hits them in their heart and hits them in their gut. Somebody said to me yesterday on the realtor call that I do, she was like, well, I know what my value proposition is. And I'm like, hello, let's discuss the fact that value proposition is a flat line energetically and means absolutely nothing. But if you
Right.
say, I want to know, I know absolutely what's in it for my clients, now that's an emotionally evocative set of words. When your clients are dialing into their favorite radio station, WIFM, what's in it for me? And you want to tune into that when you're writing your copy or when you're doing your marketing, because without that emotional evoking of, oh, she made me feel this, or oh wow, that just smacks me in the gut, they're not going to listen. And the more general you are, the less you can do that, the more you have to speak in terms of if you're looking to buy or sell your home. And that's where people, they don't resonate with it. So if you're writing that marketing copy and they're not buying, that's why, because you're not being specific emotionally and you're not talking to your perfect client, which is why that clarity of that perfect client is so powerful and important.
Right, right. I'm glad that you brought that up too, because it's really sometimes a little bit, I don't, discombobulating is too strong of a word, but when you look at people and you see that they're just kind of like repeating what they hear, like these catchphrases and what everybody else is saying, like you were saying that bottom line, or and you're just like, that does nothing. But when you're like, are you interested in renovating a gorgeous Victorian mansion? Can you see yourself after you've finished all of this process and everything? That's going to be somebody totally different than like somebody who's like, are you ready for your penthouse apartment where you're going to, where everything's already done and you don't have to take care of anything? And, so it's two different people.
Absolutely.
And they're speaking two different languages.
Yeah. And or at least two different dialects of the
Yeah.
same language. And if you can talk evocatively to the one that you want to get, that's the thing. Like one of the basic business lessons that I learned, and I didn't learn it until I started coaching. I did not learn it when I was in my my software business or my real estate practice. It took me almost 30 years to get to this concept. Just because you focus on a particular niche doesn't mean you can't also focus on other niches. You just cannot focus on everything at the same time. You need to pick a lane and you need to stay there until that lane is successful, and then you move to the next lane. So if you want to talk to that audience and that other audience, that's fine. Just don't do it in the same ad or don't do it in the same marketing piece. And if you want to talk to the same audience, if you want to talk to different audiences and they're very disparate, find a different way. Like on LinkedIn, is there a colleague that you can work with where you can, their profile can be aimed at that audience and your profile can be aimed at this audience? On Facebook, can you put up a post that's for this person and then 3 days later put up a post that's for this person? Because what happens when you do that is people self-select away as well as self-selecting toward. And that's what you want, because otherwise, when they're not your client, like you don't want the person that's going to show up and tell you you're going to hell. That's
Right.
not useful. They're not getting anything out of it because they can't hear you, and you're not getting anything out of it because you're personally insulted and it ruined your afternoon. So when you write, about, like, for example, the goddess, the person who is going to be like super rigid in their belief system about, if it's not Jesus Christ, their personal Lord and Savior, you're going to hell. And I know some of those people, they're lovely people, unless you start talking religion or politics with them.
Right.
But when they feel like that, like, let them self-select away from you. They're simply not your client. Whereas I will refer them all day long to my friend, the born again Christian business coach, because she can speak their language and they're going to be able to hear her and she's going to have a great client from that. So there's somebody for everybody. And one of the best things you can do in business is network the Christmas out of all of it so that you have the born again Christian coach to send them to, or the realtor that specializes in the exact kind of golf course home that they're looking for when you never want to step foot on a golf course in your life. So that can also be immensely helpful. And that's how you can have reciprocally more, business relationships.
Yeah. And I love that. Network, network, network. And, you don't have to serve everybody. Like trying to serve everybody is just like that scarcity mindset where you're just like, and if you can be generous enough to say, hey, I don't think I'm a right fit for you, but I know this person over here who would do wonders for you. It's just such an energetic shift.
Yes. And again, a very feminine approach, collaboration, not competition. That is the sacred divine feminine at work in our businesses. And more importantly, for you, like, because it's what's in it for me, right? So, what's in it for the person that chooses this for the first time and hasn't made this a way of life yet is it will expand your energetic container. It's like you get to hold more abundance by allowing the flow of the abundance. When we hold the thing tightly, it's because it's limited. So we are literally, by holding on to whatever that is, the energy of money, the energy of competition, the energy of, I can't, I have to take any client that comes to me because I have to be able to pay the bills this month. All of that energy is the energy of limitation. And when you let go, when you open your fists and allow the water to flow through, you are allowing the cycle so that it can flow back to you. And you can, you can write on your checks, this is coming back to me 10,000 fold. You can energetically send that out. As I give you this referral, 7 referrals are coming back to me. I'm pulling the number 7 out of, the air, but whatever. I mean, it's whatever your power number is, like, or for every referral I send out, I get back 2, whatever the phrase is, the mantra is that you want to create. It's the energy of the flow of business. It's the energy of allowing, and it's the energy of receiving and receiving back to you. I set the intention at the beginning of the month. I was like, oh, I'm so grateful that I'm bringing 4 new clients into my programs this month. Just 4, or better, 4 or more. I'm so grateful for that. And now I'm basking in the energy of the gratitude of those clients showing up. Somebody referred me to somebody yesterday. We haven't spoken yet, but she's on my schedule for later this week. Where did she come from? She came from the energetic creation of my intention and my desire and my gratitude for having already received the gift from spirit and, whatever your higher power is. That's how that shows up for you in your life. And I'm so excited about the other 3 people coming through. I don't know who they are, and it doesn't matter. And the former way that I used to be was, let's do it the masculine way. Let's get in there and we're going to just wrestle it to the ground and we're going to make it be. And now I'm I'm so grateful that I'm allowing this. It's a very different energy, and it allows so much more peace and room and spaciousness and flow, and not ever worrying about my bills or my money again. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I'm going to throw the but in here.
Go. I'm a mindset coach for a reason, but yes.
But okay. So when you set the intention and you sit in this state of gratitude, and then you're just like, but it's the 17th, or whatever today is, the 16th. And, and then you start tripping yourself up on divine timing. Divine timing for me is it's something that comes up a lot in the work. So how do you teach a person to maintain their faith when they're not seeing the
Beautiful
things come through to them?
I love this question so much. And it just came up literally in a group that I was coaching this last week. We were talking about that. And the first thing is, take the deadlines away. Divine timing is fine. So you don't have to. I said 4 new clients this month 3 days ago. I didn't wait. I didn't get a chance. I did it on the new moon. I did not do it on. So I'm in a different cycle. I'm in the next 28-day cycle because I've shifted less. I mean, we made up the Gregorian calendar that we work with.
Right.
Like the Balinese. I spent a lot of time leading tours to Bali, and the Balinese have 3 calendars that they use: the lunar calendar, the Gregorian calendar, and the Balinese Hindu calendar, which all have completely different cycles. Like the Balinese calendar, the first week is 1 day long, the second week is 2 days long, the third week is 3 days long. I forget, I think it's 7 weeks, and then it goes back to the so I mean, and they impose all 3. It's like having to learn a new language. So you go to Bali and you learn about the calendar systems, and you're like, yeah, we just made all that up. That has no reality at all. So so as a result, like when it's the 17th and you're like, oh my God, where are my clients? That's a message for you to take the time off the table, say in divine timing, so that you don't have that issue. I haven't done it. I just realized as we were, talking about this, I haven't done anything that's time-based in a long time because my brain has a tendency to do exactly what you just said. And then I'm like, oh God, well, here it is the 17th and I haven't done like half of what I said I would do. And therefore that means the other half is in jeopardy. I had a client, I have a private client that I work with. She tends to bring in like over 100 grand every month in her business. It was the 27th and she was at like $30,000 or something. And she doubled down. She was like, this is happening. And she recommitted to that $100,000 or more by the end of the month because she's super deadline oriented like that. I think her final tally was like 150. By the
No.
time the smoke cleared around the third of the month, that was how much she had closed between. And so is that possible for all of us? All day long. Is it likely for all of us? It depends. How much are you getting in your own way about it? How much are you telling yourself the story of what's possible versus what's not possible? When you're in that lack space of, oh God, it's the 17th and I haven't, you have just sent a message, an energetic vibration out of, don't bring me those clients because I just told you not to, because you didn't I don't have them. You just sent that vibration out. So that slows your roll, so to speak. And then you do that often enough, you basically are at a standstill. I call this the desire snag. The desire snag is I put the message out into the world for the thing that I desire. And therefore, simultaneously, I have the lack of it. Because I don't have it, so therefore I have the lack of it. But I'm aware of the lack of it. When you give thanks for the thing that you have already received, as if you had already received it before it actually comes in, there is no lack there. So when we are grateful for the box, the gift, the wrapped gift that we have received, I think I know what's in it, but I haven't opened it yet. But I'm so grateful that you gave it to me and that you got it for me. And I can feel that I'm going to love this gift. That's the energy that you want. The Christmas morning birthday energy of, these clients, I love them. Of course they're already here. And then if you can't work with that energy for sustained time, then take it off the table as far as the timing. And I'm sure all of your listeners know about Abraham, right? The channel group. Yeah. So Abraham says 17 seconds of that directed energy begins to move worlds, and 64 seconds. And, I used to try to create 64 seconds of that energy. And literally after like 30 seconds, my brain's like, okay, well, you're done now. And you're halfway out of the chair and you're like, wait, I only needed the 64 seconds and I didn't even get halfway there. So we have this tendency to self-sabotage, but if you direct your energy, so sometimes what I do is like, I will record the thing that I desire and the story about the thing that I desire. I'll record it on a voice memo. And then I'm listening to that 3 minutes or whatever every single day because I'm a very oral person. I have clairaudience. That's one of the ways that my intuition shows up. So maybe you're a visual person, maybe the vision board is your thing, but whatever it is, you need to spend time with that. And you need to spend time with it in a way that like focuses your brain so that you can have the attention on the thing, whatever the thing is, but for a very short period of time. 2 to 3 minutes a day will do it. 2 to 3 minutes twice a day. Woo, look out. So, yeah.
Well, and it all ties in, when you go back to, like, if we go full circle back to Dr. Joe Dispenza and back to the quantum physics and everything like that, by creating that energy and sitting in that place of gratitude and sitting in that place of, like, woohoo, Christmas time energy, then you are making that quantum leap. You are bypassing the B and C and D by doing that.
Yes, absolutely. And the manifestation is the way. I mean, I've studied a lot of different ways to manifest, and the thing that works for me, the thing that allowed me to wrap my head around it finally, was the idea that you're bringing the future into the present. The future is not now, and all we ever have is now, right? And now, and now, and now, and now. So in order for the thing to be safe in your brain, to create that safe state in your brain where your brain can get behind, yes, we can go there, and I'm not going to resist that. We have to be able to bring the future into the present because it tells the brain that the future is now safe. Otherwise, the brain is like, gotta stay in the cave, so the saber-toothed tiger doesn't eat you. And where are you? Wherever you are now is the cave, and wherever you want to be is not safe because there could be a saber-toothed tiger out there. So you can either, like, kind of the masculine way is understanding intellectually that there are two different kinds of fear. There's fear of scary guy in dark alley, and there's fear of the unknown. And fear of the unknown is not the same thing as fear of scary guy in the dark alley, but it shows up in our bodies the same way. So you can draw your sword when you recognize fear of the unknown and rush fearlessly into it, and that causes the fear to dissipate. So that's a beautiful thing. Or you can also move into this other space where you bring the future. This would be probably the more feminine way of doing it. You bring the future into the present by your intention, by seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and feeling, smelling. That's what I meant. That was the fifth one. Feeling and touching are the same thing. So use your five senses to create the space around you, almost like a hologram. And I will close my eyes and imagine the next house that I'm living in. And as I'm doing that, I'm touching things. I'm drinking my coffee that's here. I'm drinking it, but I'm drinking it in my new chair, or in this chair, because I love this chair, in my new office, in my new home with the gorgeous view. So that's, how to, like, embody the five senses, so that you embody is a great word, because you are literally putting it into your physical being. And now that feels like a safe state. And now you can create that in your future because you've created it in your now. You've taught your brain that it's already happening. Now it's just a matter of asking, what's my next smallest step?
Nice. I love that. And just going back to that question every time, what's my next smallest step?
Every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you work with people as a part of a group, you work with them in tour situations, you work with them one-to-one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite, or do you have a favorite?
Oh my goodness. So I'm one of those people that probably equally loves everything that I do. I don't like, there's that famous quote, I hate writing, I love having writ. I think Benjamin Franklin said that, or Thomas Jefferson or somebody, but that's the one thing where, like, that's not my favorite. But any of the coaching that I do, I love coaching my groups. When people say, like, oh, I don't know, I'm a coach and I don't know if I can really coach groups as well, I find that spiritually, the person asking the question is like the focused source, right? The light source. And then the answer kind of beams out to everybody else. So there's people in the group who are like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought to ask that, but I got something out of that answer too. And then energetically, when you do a clearing, or when I do a clearing, everybody in the group is getting the clearing at the same time. I wasn't always able to do that, but the work up levels over time. And so now that's the way that it works. So if you're willing to welcome that in and be okay with that, boy, is that starting to allow more people. So the advantage of the group is the one-to-many, but then the advantage with the private clients, I mean, yesterday I worked with a woman who had Hashimoto's, and I said to her, are you okay if we clear this out this morning? And right now, in this now moment, if you no longer had Hashimoto's? And she said, absolutely. And we got in there with her higher self. And in like 5 minutes, it was just removed from her. Now, I haven't checked in with her today, but those kinds of medical miracles happen regularly in my one-on-one work. And again, I mean, like, I'm just the facilitator. That's what spirit calls me. And I love that stuff. And that doesn't happen with the groups. That only happens like clearing out people's lifelong trauma, having those medical miracles. That's happening when I work with people one-on-one. So I love all of it. And then when you lead tours, oh my gosh, the healing that can happen when you go to that like 30,000 mile away from home place is phenomenal, makes a huge difference. And sometimes people need to get so out of their day to day. I used to lead Eat, Pray, Love tours for a long time, about 10 years. And people would come, women would show up on the tour and be like, I've only got a week and my husband shot himself in the next room 10 years ago and I've never gotten over it. And I'm like, let me pull these tools out of my toolbox from my work and of myself and see what I can do to help. And that's actually what led to my coaching work. So now I coach on my tours as well. And now's a good time to probably mention that I'm about to announce an Egypt tour in October. I'm doing, it's called like, gosh, I think we called it like balancing the divine, but it's a place where we're gonna go to all the temples privately and in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid and stand between the paws of the Sphinx and all the things that tourists don't normally get to do. And we're going to balance the energy inside of each of us, men and women, of the sacred divine masculine and feminine. And it's just, the very stones in Egypt will wake you up. That's what happened to me. So that's why. I love all of it. I want to do all the things.
I'm all like, that's another thing. Like, sign me up. So, and you have like a hotel and everything for everybody to stay in?
Oh gosh, we have the best hotels in Egypt. Yes, we stay at the Mina House, which is this former palace overlooking the Great Pyramid. And then we go, and at the end of the trip, we stay at the Four Seasons. And in between, we do a 7-night Nile cruise on a ridiculously gorgeous cruise ship. And the cruise ships are very tiny on the Nile. The Nile itself is like, in some places it's like a half a mile wide. So like I think this cruise ship is like, I don't know, 34 suites or something. It's tiny. Oh, wow. So yeah. So, and depending on the COVID situation, by then we may end up on the ship or just alone. We'll see.
Right.
So.
Ooh, that sounds fabulous. And is that more like a healing or business or a combination of both, or?
Oh, there's no business on the tours. None. I mean, you could sit down with me at breakfast and I could, do a business plan for you, or like, help you create your next year of business success and growth, or, plan your income arc or any of that stuff. But it's not the main, that's not what we're there. Like there's 3 or 4 workshops on the trip where we're going to be doing the sacred divine masculine and feminine balancing and history of it and all of that. But none of them have to do with business.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, it's near and dear to my heart. So happy to do all that stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah, because that sounds fabulous. And I know a lot of people, it's just the energy of Egypt. There's just something there, such an old sacred place that's probably just totally, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, well, then you should think about coming, because that's exactly what happens for people is you get the call. And this trip is a way to answer the call. But I know from working with hundreds and hundreds of people on my tours, you get the call. And it's immensely powerful when you answer it, because Egypt is like coming home for all of us. It's just an amazing trip. This will be my 27th or 28th tour. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so people can get a hold of you at Halle Eavelyn or Evelyn?
Evelyn. HALLE, like victory, ELYN like ninja, HalleEavelyn.com.
Okay.
And I actually can offer your listeners a free gift if you would like.
Yeah, please tell me I know Whitney sent me the link. So
actually it's easiest to get to on the home page. So you just go to HalleEavelyn.com. The gift is called 3 Keys to Slay Your Inner Critic. And it is basically a way to quiet the voice in your head that says you can't, you shouldn't, you won't, you're not going to be successful, all the limiting beliefs. It's a way to quiet that so that you can start to get more accomplished, so that more of your energy can move toward the positive and move away from the negative.
Oh, that's wonderful, because I know even the people who are very much in it and doing it, they still hit roadblocks from time to time.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am so happy that we finally got together today.
Sue, thank you so
So,
much, Sue. Thank you.
oh, thank you, Holly. And yeah, I am looking forward to getting to know you and your work even more in the future, and hopefully maybe join you in Egypt, because that's totally on my list.
That would be awesome. All right. Well, blessings to you and to everyone that you are, all your viewers. Thank you so much for this time today.
Thank you, Holly, and take care. And thanks again for your time and your patience. And we will hopefully talk soon.
Excellent. All right. Blessings. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.